Hi, I'm Nicole Hurd, and welcome to my podcast. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to be inspired. And the good news is, there are a lot of inspiring people associated with the College Advising Corps. Over the coming weeks and months, I will have the honor of introducing you to them. People who believe in hope, people who believe in opportunity, people who believe in our beauty, our power, and our potential. People who believe in serving in communities, and people who courageously say, I believe in you. And we will also talk about the importance of navigating the path to college. Join me in this journey to be inspired, this journey in a time of challenge to lift and love and dream. Welcome to the Knowledge for College podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Knowledge for College podcast. I have two very special people with me today. As you know, this is the College Advising Course podcast to bring light and love into the world, to bring some practical advice into the world, and to amplify voices. I can't imagine two better voices to amplify than the two gentlemen we have on today. Real quickly, when I was thinking about how to introduce them and what we want to talk about today, I was thinking about, since we're in election year, when did I get the courage to start using my voice? These two gentlemen have a lot of courage and use their voice in ways that inspire me. I will tell you, it's been a hard COVID year, and I will tell you, I would not have made it through the summer without David. He was my Zoom partner and kept a lot of light and love going on in my life this summer. And whenever I feel like I can't do something, I think of Cam, because Cam inspires me all the time. So you're about to meet two people inspire me. Again, I thought about when I started using my voice, it was in 5th grade. It was before these two gentlemen were born, actually. 1980 election, I remember this in my 5th grade class. I had to be one of the two candidates. I will not tell you which one it was, but I had to stand up and be that candidate. And I think there were like 30 kids in my class, and I got 29 votes, and I knew that I could use my voice. So this all started in 5th grade for me. But I want to ask these two great men, when did they start using their voice? So everybody, welcome to David and Cam, our two Advising Corps family members. Thanks for both of you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, David, when did you start using your voice?
A pretty similar story in 4th grade, I think, which was, I don't even know when that was. That would have been 91, 92. My teacher, Miss Engelman, I still remember, used to make everybody in the class memorize and recite these poems once a week. So once a week she would hand out a poem, everybody had to memorize, then everybody had to recite the same poem. Incredibly useful exercise for my life, as it would turn out, but so boring. And so to listen to 30 kids recite the same poem. And one time I decided I was gonna act it out. I don't even remember what that meant, and I don't remember what poem it was, but I got up and I did something while I was saying it, and everybody laughed when I wanted them to laugh. And I was a very shy kid. And so I don't know what really possessed me to do this, but it was the most powerful I'd ever felt, because it was cause and effect. I wanted a thing to happen, and I did this thing, and it happened to a bunch of people all at once. And I still remember what that feels like, and that's kind of the reason I've been chasing this. The reason I still do that.
So, Cam, you're an advisor. You're in your 2nd year. It takes a lot of courage to be an advisor. You're, texting families and parents and students. When did you start using your voice, Cam?
Yeah, and honestly, for me, I feel like that's still in development, right? That's still in progress. I think we're still trying to find the confidence every day to make sure that we can use our voice as much as possible. I think the thing that makes me think of one of the first times. I was pretty introverted all the way up, probably until community college. And I remember in community college, that's really when I started learning about just issues going on in life. I think for a long time, I was very much in this place of life is just life. It is just what it is. I haven't been outside of my own community, so I don't really know too much else. And I started to really learn about inequities and stuff like that. I think, shout out to the Umoja program at DVC. We watched 13th, the documentary, and that really didn't come out that long ago, right? And so again, it's a development process. But me and a group of people watched 13th, and from that conversation, we all had a circle and we kind of debriefed about the film. And from that conversation came the founding of this club called the Men of Color Association at DVC. And so I think for me, that was one of the first times where I kind of went from, what am I doing with my life, and kind of very much thinking on this individualistic level to like, what does my community need and what do other folks need for us all to succeed. And so I was the vice president of that club, co-founder of that club, and then went on to do, more activist like stuff throughout my life, and trying to do the same thing now. So I think that was probably the point in my life that actually got me probably to where I am today, actually.
And so, Cam, that's incredibly inspiring. Look, I'll say, well, I'll use this word for myself, but I think, all three of us now have confessed we've been introverted. I was a very shy, awkward kid and did not want to be kind of out there. But then, like I said, I got to see people react to this voice, and I thought, wow, I better use this. David, you're at a point now where a lot of people are listening to your voice. So again, you've got decisions to make about when you use it. You obviously made a decision to join the College Advising Corps family. How do you think about using your voice now that you know that people are listening? Has it changed at all?
It's interesting because it's really interesting hearing Cam talk about sort of his journey with becoming a public-facing person, and like, Cam's an activist first and an artist by extension of that, right? Because you have to be in order to stand up in front of people and move them. And I'm the other way around. I'm an artist first and happen to have like an activist sensibility in some way, or happen to have realized that like some of what I do can be useful towards activist purposes. And but the complication about that is that like my voice is sort of intimately tied up with my career, and so there are all kinds of right now I'm at a point where I am very fortunate. I'm sort of in rarefied artist era where I can like pick and choose things that I do. I don't have to say yes to anything that hands me a check. The flip side of that is that now it means something when I say yes to something, right? So like, so it gets complicated because the fact that I am supporting something says something. Enough people listen to what I'm saying now that like having my voice or name attached to something means something, and I get a lot of offers from a lot of places in those directions, and some of them are offering tons of money. So it's always like a balancing act of like, well, what am I sacrificing in order to support this thing? What is the thing I'm supporting actually promote? And then what am I getting back from it? And what does that do for my family, or what does that allow me to do in the future? Something like College Advising Corps is an easy yes, because our goals line up so much, and because I'm a product of a lot of people who are the same kind of caring, forward thinking, and like encouraging of students that you are, Nicole. So like it was a really easy thing to get behind an organization that I believe in, and where I can see all of the good that it's doing. And so though that's, CAC is one of the things that lending my voice to is sort of a no-brainer in any way that I can be useful, because I think the organization is doing great work, and so I only get positive things back from that, right?
So, so Cam, let's talk about your story and using your voice. Now you're actually actively talking to advisors, talking to families. I know you've got an event this evening with families. What do you want them to hear in this time of disruption? And what do you want them to take away from you as you think about using your voice for this college access work and think about advancing opportunity for thousands of young people?
Yeah, that's a super deep question. For me, especially, for parents and students, one of the biggest things I try to convey is that, their student and, the students themselves, they have an enormous amount of potential. And I think that's because we just don't get that messaging all the time from a lot of different places. And it's actually crazy how much faces will light up or just be surprised when you tell them, oh, you can go to college, or not even necessarily just college, but just like you have the potential to do so much, because I just don't think they necessarily hear those things as much, right? And for parents, it's really just, it's great for them to hear like, I am here for your student. Parents or guardians, like, I am the person who's advocating for them. I am the person who's more than just, somebody who is they're on my roster. Like, I very much care about each one of these students. And so I think, and especially in a time like this, when we're talking about pandemic, we're talking about the movement for Black lives, when we're talking about just things coming up, and finally, having some kind of, the systems of oppression actually being put to the forefront, because of all of the backlash that it's actually getting from certain administrations, right? I think that is very good to hear right now. It's like, okay, there is somebody in my child's life, or there's somebody in my life that believes in me and that very much is rooting for me. But it's not only rooting for me, but is like going to push me to do this thing that I want to do, and it's making me believe I can do, because they know they have the potential. It's just, are they confident enough to continue with it, and to actually go for it? So yeah, that's the messages that I really want them to hear.
Well, Cam, this is why when I want to be inspired, I think about you and David, because you both just, like the light and love, you can just feel it radiating from both of you. And I want to point this out. I do think place matters. I'm a big believer that place matters. And it's not a coincidence that both of you are from the Bay Area. I frankly claim the Bay Area because I was born there, and then my parents made the tragic decision to leave. I will claim the Bay Area whenever I can. But there's something very Bay about both of you in terms of, I think there's a sense of, Bay people tend to be brilliant and humble at the same time. They tend to have this incredible ability to change the world, and there's just something to it. There's also a lot of gentrification, a lot of important things going on in the Bay Area. And so, Cam, you're in Antioch doing this advising. David, I know your heart is still very much in the Bay Area. Can you both talk about why this work matters, and also what the Bay Area, what does place mean to both of you? What does home mean to both of you? David, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that thing that I certainly I recognize in Cam. I say this all the time about the Bay Area, that there's a virtuosity is treated as commonplace. Like, that's what I grew up around. I grew up around like people who are still the most incredible like artists and thinkers in the world, as far as I'm concerned, and it was always just like, yeah, that's how you're supposed to be. You from here. This is what you do. Of course, you're great at it. I cite a good friend of mine, Ambrose Akamusiri, all the time. It was like inarguably one of the greatest trumpet players in the world. Won the Monk competition at 29 years old. Like, signed a Blue Note. He's now composing for our TV show, actually, which I'm so thrilled about. But like, he told me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe, I was hanging out with him. I was like, I hope to be as good at anything one day as you are at playing the trumpet. And he said, aim higher. He was like, I'm good at playing the trumpet because I practice playing the trumpet all the time. I'm supposed to be good at this, And that's kind of, that's Bay shit to me. That's like, if this is what you do, you should do it great. And so I grew up around a lot of people who did what they did really, really well and didn't expect anything back from that. That's just what you do. And I think that permeates through everything. And so yeah, that sense of place for me is a really important one. And what's interesting about it in response to gentrification is it becomes sort of a memory play. Right, like the Oakland that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore except in my head, but it's so important in my head. And there's a set of core values that exude from it, that I think a lot of us of my generation are hoping to figure out ways to pump back into the Oakland that exists now, and to kind of recreate at least the energy and spirit and like feeling of protection that the Oakland we grew up in offered. And So I'm mostly interested to hear kind of how Cam thinks about this as someone a little bit younger than me, and also the way that communities have played out in the Bay Area. Antioch is like, I don't know where your peoples are from, Cam, but like everybody I know in Antioch used to live in Oakland. So like,
that's how it goes.
Yeah, right, because you end up moving out to the outskirts. So so now those communities that we didn't go out to very much, like that actually is where the cultural centers are, and where it's sort of the heart of this kind of Bay Area that I grew up in is now moved out to places like Antioch.
Yeah, definitely. And I can definitely attest to that. I grew up, in the flatlands of Oakland. I grew up in East Oakland before moving out right there in 2008 when so many other people came out to Antioch, right? And I think just to kind of go back to Nicole's point, I just think, and to both of your points, really, like, it's so much genuine, but so much unapologeticness that comes with this. And that's something that I will always embody. Like, there's a very much a balance between like living this quote unquote professional lifestyle, but also like maintaining yourself and people knowing like, yeah, he's from Oakland. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something that people are always going to feel because of that unapologeticness, but also trying to be as genuine as possible and just like, help as many people as possible. That's the legacy of Oakland, is that, I think, and the Bay Area really. And so it's crazy to me because, I have so many friends out here and, I grew up with so many people out here. My grandma still lives in Oakland. We have people out there. But Antioch and Pittsburgh and those kinds of things are very much starting to look at like what old Oakland, what old Richmond look like. But nevertheless, I think, like David said, those things don't leave you. Those things don't leave your parents, those things don't leave the people around you. So it's a legacy that you carry, but it's also a legacy that you put into your work. And I'm sure, we see that every day with David as an artist, right? Like he's super unapologetic about like where I am from. You're going to know where I'm from, right? I'm the same way. Like, you're going to know exactly. And I do that with my students. You're going to know exactly where I come from, and the communities that I come from, because professionalism to me, I put that to the side, because at the end of the day, it's a real connection. And you need to know where I'm from in order for us to connect, because you need to know that I've been where you've been. I am you, really, in reality, right? So I think that plays a part in our lives and our work, and those things aren't separated. They're very much the same thing.
And I think I'm just going to piggyback on that right quick. That's super important, I think, for young people. It was for me, and I find this in the work I do with young people too, like an acknowledgement and a deep desire to understand where they are from and to value that. Because your world, especially if you're, we couldn't afford to go on like long family trips or vacations or anything when I was kids. So my world was relatively small. Till I started running track, I never traveled really outside of the Bay Area. And so I think valuing a place that you are from is super important. And the thing about the Bay Area is like I like all the rappers who I admired were from the same city that I lived in, and I didn't know that they weren't as famous as everybody else, because there was like this support, you know what I'm saying? So I was totally starstruck trying to talk to the Gift of Gab in Amoeba Records every Tuesday, because he was also at the record store every Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? There's this. I didn't know that guy wasn't as famous as Jay-Z. You couldn't tell me that. Like that, I listened to his music way more. So there is this, and I think it's important, especially. I know, Cam, you've got a lot of like great artists at your school too. I know this because I've been watching the dailies and stuff, and supporting those scenes, those kinds of creative movements that take place from a young age in a particular place, and honoring those as if they are the biggest thing in the world. I find that kind of thing really important, and particularly for young people, because you have to value the beginnings of it. It's the only way. I was talking to Ethan Hawke the other day, and he's been famous for a long time, right? And he was talking about some of the mistakes he made when he was younger, when he was like 18 and in the public eye. And we were talking about this sort of necessary hubris in a certain way as a young person doing whatever you're doing. You're only going to keep doing it if you get some sort of positive reinforcement for it, and if you like think that it at least has the potential to be really great, whatever that is. And so I find it really important to encourage that for young people. Like whether or not it's great right now, the potential for greatness is there, and that's what keeps you going. And then a few years later, you'll get you can add in the humility that comes along with that. The world has no problem crushing your dreams. But we don't need to assist in that. The actual more difficult thing is to realize that like the dream is what keeps you working at the thing, and that's what actually makes you great at the thing, right?
Part of this podcast is to give advice to students and advisors and lift them up. And so, David and Cam, as we get short on time here, let's talk about what's the one thing you want. 2020 has been a difficult year. What's the one thing that you would say to a student right now or to an advisor right now to lift them up?
Oof. I would say that your success in making it through this moment is it's going to put a ton of perspective on things later in life. It is unprecedented what we're going through, I think, and everything's going to be different after it. But because of your unique positioning in it, being a student right now, being someone who is sort of trying to figure things out and coming into their own right now, you're actually going to be more equipped to deal with the future than I think the rest of us are. Because that's what this time in your life is. It is about developing tools for the future. Like, I've already developed my tools and they are irrelevant for the moment that we're in, whereas you're creating a brand new toolbox in a way that we haven't seen before. So I hope you are encouraged by that. It sounds exhausting, but the flip of that is that really those of us who are older are going to be turning to you for advice. I think if we're smart, we're going to be looking to you to tell us how to really navigate the future of things, because we didn't come up in this time. We didn't know how to deal with it, and you did. So I'm a big, metacognition is a term I learned in college. That's a very Brown University-ass term that is not really worth getting into, but think about what you're thinking. Pay attention to the different ways that you are thinking right now, and sort of just take note of them, because that is, I'm going to be mining them from you in the near future. Like, I need to know how you think right now. It's important.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that, just saying, perseverance right now is definitely what we all want to see. I think, getting, like David said, getting through this moment is going to really, if you can get through this right now, you're going to be able to get through anything. At the same time, I also want to give the message of take care of yourself. Like, do not fall into this capitalistic thing of like, I have to be grinding all the time. I have to, always be working. I have to be ultra productive. Please take care of yourselves, because what we are going through right now is not normal. And so as long as you can get through the day, as long as you can get through the week and be okay, then that is okay. Everything else after that comes second. That does not mean that those things don't have consequences. Of course, as an advisor, and as a person of color, and everything, I want to tell everybody, do the best that you can, because we're already in this place of, it's already harder. I'm saying? It's already harder for people like us, for young people, for people of color, etc. But at the same time, I cannot say, don't take care of yourself. And if doing ultra productiveness means you're not taking care of yourself, that's second. You're human first. So do as much as you can. And after that, we'll get it all later. 2021, 2022, we'll make up for it, hopefully. But just take care of yourself right now and get through the year, get through these times.
Cam, that was beautiful. Let me just close by saying this is why I want everybody to spend some time with the two of you. One way to get through this is self-care. The other is just to rely on each other, right? To lean on each other. I will confess that David's phone will show you that I lean on him way too much because I'm blowing up his phone all the time. but no, and look at it, and Cam, I mean, again, you're one of those people that keeps me going. So I'm glad that the rest of the podcast world, the rest of the College Advising Corps world got to spend some time with the two of you, because you two are the reason why I do what I do. So thank you for the light and love you bring. Thank you for spending some time on this podcast. Any final goodbye you want to say as we wind down here?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Students and advisors, keep doing the thing. It inspires me, and we need you out there. So thank you, as always. Just thank you, and Cam in particular, thank you. It's incredible watching your work from afar. I think I think because you keep doing it, but the real world difference that you're making in the lives of a lot of people is it's really inspirational, and I just thank you for doing it and for putting on for the Bay and for helping keep our kids safe.
Most definitely. Thank you. I appreciate all y'all do. And I appreciate all my advisors out there, all my students. Like I said, keep pushing through these times. We'll get through them together.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you both so much. Please follow us, and please check us out at collegeadvisingcorps.org. Thank you for spending some time with us. I hope you've left inspired and ready to serve. For more information about College Advising Corps, please visit collegeadvisingcorps.org. And until next time, we believe in you.